Uh, just tell us what it was, some of your experiences in World War II.
Well, number one was the bombing of England. I was in England and we were bombed each and every night. We'd go into these shelters, you know, on the ground. And sometimes we made it, sometimes we didn't. We landed on the streets, and it was just everything but nice.
And how often did you get bombed when you were in England?
Pardon?
How often did they drop bombs when you were in England?
Each and every night.
And how long were you in England?
Oh, it was about a good month or two. And then I crossed the Channel into France.
And then what did you do in
And
France?
then in France, well, we got in there and it was going towards the end, but there was fire all over and places burning, and France was, well, we set up camp here and there, and it kept going. We had no place to sleep, and I shouldn't say this, but the French people, they stole everything from us what they could. And we landed into Hamburg, Germany, and that was going toward the end then of the war. And it was kind of hit and miss then, you know. The older people they were not for the war, but the young generation, they were brainwashed Nazis, you know, and that's what we had to put up with. But we got into Germany, we rolled in. Part of the war, people think of tanks and bombs and cannons, but this is the other side of the war. We got in there, we rolled into Hamburg on our 6x6s, and women would come running up to you with a baby in their arm crying for food. They were hungry, there was nothing to eat. And we'd give them these little rationing of cheese and Spam, you know, and they grab your hand and kiss your hand, and a lot of that stuff that we had to be careful for the younger generation. But the war was then going downhill, and just a lot of ways that unbelievable. Just unbelievable, the equipment that was laying around and bombing, and it kind of saw the other end of the war too, you know. But the people really didn't want war over there, and they had it. But the young, like I said, the young generation, they were Nazis. And got into Hamburg and then Stuttgart, where I was hit by the prisoner. Then we got down into 30 miles from Esselen, into a little village of Esselen. And I just don't know, unbelievable. But, what was I going to say?
Well, why don't you tell us again about how you ended up in the hospital in Stuttgart?
Well, it was in Stuttgart when we had prisoners of war, like I told you. And there's one guy, there were 2 German prisoners, we had prisoners. and they started a fight. And I tried to break up the fight of the prisoners. And then, I don't know what he had in his hand, but he hit me. He hit me in the leg here. There I landed in the hospital. It pretty well busted open. I was there 2 weeks. I was wounded by a prisoner, not in battle, but by a prisoner of war.
What was it like when you came home, when you came back to the States?
Pardon?
What was it like when you came back to the States?
Oh, unbelievable. We came back, and you know, what do they call them, the little boat that push the big boats into the harbor, you know.
Tugboats?
Yes. And the whole bank and thing was all decorated, welcome back, and good job, and music playing, and the Salvation Army, and the Red Cross was there. And it was just great how they welcomed you back home. Oh my God, and I never forget that. You landed off the ship, and you know, you didn't fly back and forth all the time. You were in a battleship for about 12 days, and you were crummy and dirty, and they were there, and they gave you milk, and that one part was unbelievable, how they welcomed us back home. And they took us to different camps, you know.
Anything else you want to tell us?
Pardon?
Anything else you want to tell us? Any other stories you have?
Well, I can tell you, at the end of the war, I was still 6 months in occupied Germany. And in our camp, that time, we were fed, and you had what we today would call garbage cans. There were 1, 2, 3. One was soapy water, one was cold water, one was hot water. It was our mess gear. When you were done eating, you dipped it on 1, 2, 3, you know. And the one place was where you didn't eat, you dumped in a trash bin. And I'll never forget this. We had meatballs. You could bounce them. But anyway, the garbage can you dumped in there. And people were hungry over there. The other side of the war that people don't realize. And a little old lady with a shawl on, she went into the garbage and took out these meatballs, you know. But they had nothing to eat over there. And when Christmas came at that end of the year, it was only a couple of months away, we opened churches over there that were closed. The windows were out, they were boarded shut, you know, but that's what the Americans did over there. They, as the war, they occupied and they tried to correct. And anyway, this woman that in the garbage picking out the meatball, and we opened the churches at Christmas night, and I was standing guard at the church door with a carbine and a 45 on my hip. We had to, not for the old people, But the young ones were still nuts, you know. We had to be careful. But anyway, this old woman that took in a garbage can, she came to the church door and she nailed up the cross at the door, crossed herself. Never forget it. Here's a woman picking in garbage for food, coming to the church, the Church of God, crossed herself to come to worship, you know. Just things to remember. Yeah. Like I said, it was the other side of the war too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell them if they turn it back on? Can you tell them
Yeah.
that story?
They were
Okay.
burned because they were full of oil and gas and stuff. It was, like I said, even after the war, when we were there for 6 months, the material and the equipment that was laying around, unbelievable. You know, we had, on all our vehicles, we had these gasoline cans, 5-gallon can there. And the Americans, when they needed gas, they emptied it and the can was thrown. They are fields when they collect them after the war. They were fields as big as Frederick's here, full of gasoline cans and cheap broken up, and you know, when there were equipment there like cheap that were not too bad, but they still came in with torches and cut them up. Chunk of waste, you know. But cheaper than sending them home, you know. They send them home as scrap iron. Yeah. Things you never forget. Not only the battle, but the waste of equipment. Oh my God.
Okay.
They sent over jeeps in wooden crates. And in the field they were piled up 2-3 high, the whole field full. Well, the people back home, well, there were no cars to buy, you know, everything was in the war, you know. Just when I came home from the war, you look at the car dealer today and thousands of, there were no cars.
Mm-hmm.
There were no cars. You had to put your name into the garage, and because somebody like I was a war veteran, your name was put on top of the list, you know. But it still took half a year until you could get a car.
Right.
Yeah, people suffered at home too. Yeah. Unbelievable. The waste of material and equipment. And people being hungry.